You're listening to Feast Meets West, a podcast where we talk about Asian food trends, tracing their origin stories, how they have crossed oceans to become famous in the West, and the varied cultural perceptions of each food item. Today we're talking about pad thai, one of America's favorite Thai noodle dishes. We interview Andy Ricker, the chef behind the Thai restaurant group Pok Pok. He tells us about the origins of the dish, the different variations, and why you maybe shouldn't eat chicken pad thai.
You are listening to Feast Meets West, the show where we tell the story behind your favorite Asian dishes. I'm Iris Van Kerkhove.
And I'm Linda Liu.
So after 2 weeks in New York City, where I used to live and Linda currently lives, I'm back in Hong Kong. So we'll be returning to our regular programming. For those who missed it, Linda and I recorded a face-to-face episode where we interviewed each other over a plate of cheese. So check it out. By the way, my trip to New York and Montreal, I probably ate more cheese those 2.5 weeks than I have, more cheese then than I have in the last year.
And aren't you lactose intolerant?
Yeah. Not seriously, but I don't feel like I get kind of bloated and stuff. It's surprisingly hard to avoid cheese. I forgot. After being in Asia for so long.
Yeah. I guess first world problem?
Yeah. But so for old episodes, be sure to check out our feed on the iTunes store by searching Feast Meets West under the podcast section. Episodes are also available on feastmeetswest.com, SoundCloud, and very soon we'll be on YouTube too.
Yay. So today we're talking about what is possibly the most iconic Thai dish, in the West at least, and that's pad thai.
It's very unlikely that you've never had pad thai, but for those who haven't, it's a stir-fried noodle dish from Thailand that's usually served as street food. There are different variations, but it usually has rice noodles, eggs, tofu, shrimp, served with a wedge of lime and topped with peanuts. In American Thai restaurants, you'll also usually see a choice of protein instead of shrimp. Are you a fan of pad thai, Linda?
Yeah, I am. I would say I was a bigger fan when I was first introduced to it, when I was still new to Thai food. But, I think it was I think maybe during college. At the time, back in I guess, what was it, 2004? I didn't really have Thai back in Hong Kong while we were still in high school. So freshman year, I remember it was a cheap lunch option. It was really tasty and had your carb, your protein, and a bit of veggies in one meal, and it had the all-encompassing flavor of the sweet, the salty, the crunch, and some of the sour as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed eating it, but it was a gateway dish for me, like many noodle dishes are. And I'm a much bigger fan of some of the other Thai dishes that are available in New York now, beyond just pad thai.
Cool.
What about you?
I had Thai food growing up here once in a while, but I guess when I didn't really pay much attention to it.
Okay, that was available? I wasn't aware.
Yeah, there was always Thai restaurants in Hong Kong because, we're closer to Thailand. So I guess it's interesting because I feel like pad thai is so prevalent and is sort of everyone's go-to in the States. And like you said, their gateway dish. But in Hong Kong, I guess because we've had more Thai people living here for a longer time, we're closer geographically. That dish isn't anything special. You will find it on menus but usually without the choice of protein. It's just the dish as it was meant to be. But yeah, growing up, I would always my Thai dish was pineapple fried rice because it was fun, right, for a kid. It's served in sometimes served in a half pineapple. And it wasn't until college that I got put onto pad thai, and then after that, it was the only thing I could order at Thai restaurants for 5 years. because it
Oh,
was so
because you
good.
liked it so much? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And every time I went to a Thai restaurant, I'd be like, I'm going to order something else. And I'm like, no, cannot.
Yeah, I feel like Thai food is another one of those. I mean, all food and cuisines really where you should be sharing so you can try more
Yeah, I
things.
think that's another difference too, because here when you go to a Thai restaurant in Hong Kong, it'll be more Asian in that it's family style. So you don't order a dish for yourself, whereas Westerners are more used to getting their own entree, maybe sharing an appetizer at most. So in which case, I think pad thai is a very complete dish with your, like you said, your protein, your carbs, a little bit of veg, and I think maybe that's part of the reason as well.
Yeah. But rather than having us tell you more about the dish, we're super excited to have interviewed Andy Ricker so he can
Yay!
tell you more about pad thai and the Thai cuisine. So Andy Ricker is, of course, the award-winning chef behind the Pok Pok restaurants empire. I believe he actually has 8 restaurants open right now across Portland, Oregon, New York, and LA. So he's a chef, he's a restaurateur, a cookbook writer, and he's best known for his expertise in northern Thai cuisine.
I'm so pumped about having Andy Ricker on the show because I love Pok Pok, and because this turned out to be such a great interview. I learned so much. Props to you, Linda.
Thank you. No, so we'll let Andy take it away here. Great. Andy, so it's really nice to have you on the Feast Meets West podcast. We're huge fans of your Pok Pok restaurants. I've been to the one in New York a few times. Each time I've had to be rolled out after each meal just from eating so much. In addition to your original Pok Pok restaurant concepts, I understand you also have restaurants that focus on pad thai specifically.
We did actually. We've recently closed them though. We do still have one restaurant, the Whiskey Soda Lounge, that has a lunch menu that's primarily noodles, and pad thai lives on there. Yes.
Got it. Cool. So, would you be able to give us your definition of what pad thai is?
Sure, be happy to. So pad thai is a relatively modern dish. It was it was basically invented in Thailand as part of a kind of a social outreach by the government when they became a democracy, to kind of boost the pride of and the participation of Thai people in their new country, because until then it had been a monarchy and a bunch of principalities, and it wasn't a republic basically. So this was kind of an exercise, from what I understand, to getting Thai people to rally around something, to say we're all Thai. So before this happened, there was no pad Thai. That's where the name came from. Pad means stir fried. Thai means Thai people or Thai style. So there's different stories around how it actually came to be. Most people agree that this particular general who became the first prime minister, his cook was the one who came up with this. So using the pantry of a Thai person, and I think the cook was Chinese, nationality. And they came up with this dish using the Thai pantry, which is to say they had fish sauce, they had palm sugar, they had tamarind, and that forms and the basis of the dressing, basically the sauce that the noodles are made out of, and rounded it out with dried shrimp, pressed tofu, a salted or sweet, a preserved daikon radish shreds, peanuts, garlic chives, bean sprouts, and noodles. And then that was the basis of the dish. That's the basic dish. Into that, people over the years have added other things. So the most common addition is prawns, fresh prawns. In other parts of the country, you see things like pork. In the north, people are very fond of eating pork, so Up north, it's not unusual to find ground pork in it. Over the years, people have modified it, and you find crab versions. You find a version that has. Oh, I'm sorry. There was another ingredient I missed. Is egg. Egg goes in there. So another variation is to make an egg omelet and wrap the whole mess in an omelet.
Yeah.
And there's also, if you go to the tourist areas, you can find chicken pad thai. So that those are the basic variations as I know it. And then there is no one recipe for this. Everybody does it a little bit different. I can tell you that the recipe we use involves those very specific ingredients. We use the palm sugar, fish sauce, tamarind as the basis of the sauce. We also cook our pad thai in pork fat because that was kind of the medium frying shortening that people would have used and still do use in many cases for this dish.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, that's such an interesting point. Also, how it was, kind of popularized by the field marshal and kind of how pad thai became played this critical role in rallying the Thai people together from a nationalism sense. That's a really interesting story.
And I further to add to that, it's a little bit ironic that that dish has, in America, a lot of people say, "Oh, that's not really, true Thai. That's not true Thai food." But it's perhaps the most Thai of all dishes. It is literally invented in Thailand. So it's definitely a quintessential Thai dish.
Yeah, for sure. So there's so many components to the dish, like you mentioned, the noodles, the sauce, the different proteins, even the different garnishes. What would you define as a good version of a pad thai? What's required to make sure it's, the best version that you've had?
Well, for me, the best versions that I've had tend to be vendors that have been at it for 30, 40 years and kind of stuck with what they were doing 30, 40 years ago. So the aforementioned pork fat as the cooking medium, I think is really important. To me, there's certain folks that will add vinegar to the dish in lieu of having lime wedges on the side because vinegar is cheaper. There's certain places where you go where the noodles are dyed pink from either food coloring or from some sort of chili sauce that gets added to the mix. But I prefer just like the old school version, cooked as I described, the way that we do it, using palm sugar instead of white sugar, not loading it up on MSG, though I'm not averse to having a little MSG in there. It actually enhances the dish nicely, and there's no crime in that. So basically, I look for one that's been cooked carefully using quality ingredients, and everybody's got a different recipe, right? Everybody's got a slightly different formula. For instance, there's a place in Chiang Mai, it's quite famous, and there's an element of the way they do it that I love. They take the prawns for the pad thai kum sot, and they dip it lightly in a little bit of batter, and then they throw it on the griddle that they make the pad thai on. I mean, that's something we should talk about too, is the different ways of making it. But yes. They do it on a giant griddle, essentially, concave griddle, and they throw the prawns on the griddle and kind of crisp them up and then fold them into the pad thai, which I think is a really nice touch. But again, it's really there's 100 different vendors selling pad thai. There's 100 different versions of pad thai. It's really up to your own personal taste.
Yeah. Let's actually talk a little bit about the different ways of making it. One of my questions was, is it worth making at home or, just having the street vendors version?
Well, I mean, it depends. I think that you can, if we're talking about a kitchen in the West, I think you can do as good or better a version than you get at your average takeout restaurant. You just have to have a good recipe to start with, and you have to be dedicated to tracking down the ingredients. The different most common methods you see for making pad thai are basically either in a wok over a flame or on a large griddle type surface where it's cooked, at a little bit of a lower temperature.
Got it. So is that like a flat
Right?
pan kind of situation?
It's like a big, yeah, it's like a big round flat griddle surface that gets put on top of a fire, and it's slightly concave typically so that they can pour oil and move the oil off. Vendors who use that method often also sell something called hoi tot, or the oyster crepe slash omelet, because it uses a lot of the same ingredients and the same cooking surface. So those are the two most common ways of doing it. There's often vendors in Thailand, you will see that they pre-cook the noodles, right? The noodles have been pre-seasoned and pre-cooked. And then when it's time to fire an individual order, they'll grab some of these pre-cooked noodles, throw in the proteins and the various little things that go with it, and then quickly stir fry it together. So it's much more expedient. But that's for busy vendors. They'll have a giant pile of noodles, and those pull some of the noodles onto the grill or throw them into the wok and throw in whatever protein they're using, the dried shrimp, the peanuts, all that kind of stuff, and the bean sprouts, of course, and egg. So those are the most common ways that you see it cooked in Thailand.
Got it. Yeah. It's a bummer that we miss out on that like visual experience of the cooking itself here in the States. So I guess like moving on to how it rose to popularity here. Pad Thai is something you find on, I would say, like almost every American Thai restaurant menu. Do you, maybe tell us a little bit about its rise to popularity here in the States? Do you think it just kind of came with the Thai immigrant population? What kind of things put it on the map here?
I don't know. You'd probably be better to ask somebody like Jet Tila about the actual history of it, because, I don't know if you know Jet, but his family opened a market, the first Thai market in LA, 40 some odd years ago.
Oh,
and
cool.
so he's intimately, he has family knowledge about how, like specifically how this happened. Forced to guess, I would say that, first of all, the people who came here first, who opened restaurants, did so by necessity. First, there wasn't anywhere for them to get the food that they ate, and B, because commerce, because you have to survive when you come to a new country, and there weren't enough Thai people here to just make a living just serving the Thai community. So you have to serve the American community at large. And I would guess that they probably said, hey, what is it? Let's observe what American people like to eat. And let's try to figure out, A, what we think from our canon they would like, and B, what can we, what of these products can we get here, right? So that we can actually make it. And, I think if you look at what Pad Thai is about, it's noodles, which we love. It's sweet. It's a little bit tart. It's got, peanuts in it. It just kind of, it ticks a lot of the boxes that Americans like. It's not particularly spicy when it's made. You add the spice yourself later on. So, for the spice-averse Westerners that were around, and, that makes a lot of sense. Also, there wasn't much in the way of funky element to it. So, and it was also something that you could produce and sell for a fair price and make a good profit on. So I think probably all of those things would have contributed to the rise of popularity of Pad Thai. And then once it's in the national psyche, that's it, right?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I find that's the case with a lot of popular dishes, such as, for example, the banh mi sandwich. It's a sandwich, and so Americans love their hoagies, and that did translate really well, and kind of one of the first food items that were sold in Vietnamese delis here in the States. But yeah, very interesting.
Sure, we love sandwiches. we love stuff.
We love noodles. We love sandwiches. Sure. We love our starches. So what is Pok Pok's take on Pad Thai? You had mentioned, a little bit on that. You guys seem to keep it quite simple, traditional. I also saw on one of the, I think, past menus that you guys don't serve chicken pad thai. So just want to hear about more about like the version that you guys serve, don't serve, or if you've adapted it at all for American tastes.
Sure. So the answer is to the last question. No, we haven't adapted it to American taste. We do some variations that I particularly like. There's a variation you can use glass noodle, wunsen noodle, which is nice because there's a lot of gluten-free folks out there that appreciate having a gluten-free option. The rice noodles counterintuitively actually have a little bit of gluten in them, so rice noodles don't save you. And it's a nice texture. It's a very, very thin noodle, and it's got a really nice little texture. And it works well as a pad thai. So we do that. We also do the hawkai, which means to wrap an egg because it looks nice. It's delightful. It gives you more egg, and who doesn't like more egg? We offer either prawn. We either plain, without any extra protein besides the dry shrimp and tofu. We do a vegetarian version. We also do a version with fresh prawns. We do a version with ground pork. We do a version with crab, or we do a version of a combination of those things. If you want, and in particular, I like a prawn and pork together, which is if you know anything about Chinese cooking, is a classic combination. Combination of pork and prawn is kind of shot through Chinese cooking. So those are the basic variations we do. And there's other variations of the dish that you see occasionally, and they're mostly modern affectations. So one is using radish cake instead of noodles, and it's delicious. Another one is using fish maw in place of noodles, which is kind of interesting. We haven't put that on the menu yet. Mm-hmm. So those are the basic, and addressing why we don't put chicken in is because it's not the best protein for this dish. Chicken doesn't add anything to it. Mm-hmm. It just works so much better with prawn, pork, crab, that kind of thing. It's not that I resent people having chicken pad thai. It's just that I want to present the best version I can. And the chicken pad thai is something that you find mostly at tourist areas where they know that the Westerners are going to come in and order the chicken pad thai. You didn't like my favorite places. They're like if you ask for chicken, they're going to be like, huh?
Yeah.
That's essentially why. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fair answer for sure. So I understand you do a lot of traveling still, going back to Thailand for research and inspiration. So you've been eating Thai food for quite a while now, and with pad Thai, since you first tried it, have you seen any changes in the dish, any evolutions, any say new trends or ingredients over time?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's the important thing to remember is that Thai food is not a static, rigid cuisine. It's been evolving, forever, and like probably some of the original food that people in Thailand ate 1,000 years ago would be, some rice and some raw herbs and vegetables and maybe some kind of soup. Like it, very, very plain stuff. All the stuff that has to do with cooking and woks, noodles, all that kind of came from somewhere else. And the development of the Thai cuisine as we know it today would have happened in the royal palace, kind of as the center of power moved to Bangkok. Thai food has been evolving forever, and it continues to evolve. I would say that my, anecdotal observations are that the Thai palate has moved towards a sweeter profile and with more of an emphasis on protein, especially fatty protein. So, the pad Thai that you typically get, it tends to be sweeter these days, in my opinion.
Is that like worldwide?
Yeah, I mean, it's not everywhere, everybody, but I would say as a general trend, yeah, sort of, it's moved that way. If you go to Thailand and you compare it to the first time I went 25 years ago, things tend to be a little sweeter, in my opinion, and the use of MSG as a primary seasoning agent has risen. Look, it's a busy world. People have to make money. They have to make a living. And they have to do it, the price of food has risen drastically there over the years, and people's willingness to pay more money for that has not. So you can forgive vendors for taking shortcuts. It's just kind of, they got to survive. Luckily, you can still find places that are, legacy places, and they're not necessarily famous either. There's places that have been there for a very long time that have just never stopped doing what they do. And, you can still find things that taste the same to me as they did 25 years ago.
Cool. That's a very interesting trend there. What about some myths around pad thai or misconceptions around the dish? Anything?
Like what? Name a couple.
Well, that, for example, I guess even maybe from like a larger Thai cuisine perspective, that it, say, always has to be cheap. That could be one. Or like that, there's no seasonality or regional variations to it because we always see it like the same dishes year-round on menus. So, just... Okay.
Well, here what I would say is this. Yeah, there is no seasonality around noodle dishes in Thailand, pretty much. Noodle dishes are noodle dishes. I would argue that they are, if you want to talk about street food in Thailand, noodles are street food. It's synonymous almost. And it's ubiquitous. It's not regional. You find noodle dishes, all over the country. You can find pad thai any city or town. There's going to be a vendor selling pad thai somewhere, and they're not doing something radically different than they would do in Bangkok. So pad thai is I can say this: the pad thai typically in Thailand, you find it in the afternoon and evening. That's the most typical time to find a pad thai vendor open. For whatever reason, it is most commonly found in the afternoon and evening as a meal. Can't say why, but that's what I've observed. Does it have to be cheap? Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's a cheap snack food. It's not really an opulent food. Having said that, if you go to, there's a very famous pad thai place in Bangkok called Pad Thai Pratupi. That's the colloquial name of it. And, they're super famous. There's a huge line out front. They've even got stanchions on the sidewalk now where you have to queue up to get in. But they have a crab version that costs a lot of money, right? It's expensive. So last time I went there, I can't remember. It was like, near to $10 US to get this dish. So, I don't think there are any rigid rules around pad thai or any food for that matter in Thailand. There's no rigid rule. It changes all the time.
Got it. So I guess last question now. What do you see as the future of pad thai? It's already quite popular. Where can it really go from here?
Well, I think like any dish that is in this category, which is to say a long-standing, beloved sort of snack meal type thing, it doesn't need to be elevated, really. I don't think so. I think it'll probably just be, just like anything else, what people will continue to make it and try to do their best version of it, so that they can sell a lot of it. Basically, that's how I feel.
All right.
I can say this, that in Thailand, what you're starting to see is starting to be a bit of a national, sort of a collective kind of embracing of nostalgia and of old things that have gone by in the past. Mostly what I've observed there is, the Thai folks are ready to move on to what's new and next. But there's been, recently you're starting to see restaurants pop up that are kind of retro looking, that are bringing back, old recipes and stuff like that. So, that may play into things.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, this is great. Thank you so much for your time, Andy. We want to say also thank you for giving a voice to authentic Northern Thai cuisine. And so that wraps up our Feast Meets West conversation with Andy Ricker on Pad Thai. And there it was. So we have Feast Meets West's interview with Andy Ricker. This was pretty amazing because I feel like he's kind of such a strong voice for the Thai cuisine community in a very authentic way. There's actually this really cool Munchies documentary about him. It's called Farang. I think I'm pronouncing it right, but basically that word means, I think, foreigner or something like that.
How do you spell it?
I think it's Farang.
Oh, okay.
But we can put that in our show notes.
Cool. I'll check it out. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Just a note, we'll be taking a quick break for the holiday season, so make sure you catch our last episodes before the new year.
Thank you for listening, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Feast Meets West. Our theme song is Quittin' Time by Patrick Lee. If you enjoyed this show, please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and leave us a review.